whenever you want.
Hi guys, this is Christopher Rubio. I'm here with
Dan Hales.
All right, so Dan, we have our living trust set up, and when it comes to trust funding and our assets, particularly our bank accounts, what should we do at that point in time in terms of trust funding? Who do we contact? What is that process? I guess where do we go with all of our different type of investment accounts? Do you have any thoughts or recommendations on that?
Well, a few, because this is a really important topic, and it gets back to trust funding once again. Once you create your trust, you don't want it to be empty, because it's only going to carry to your loved ones and family and beneficiaries whatever it owns. So what does the trust own? Well, it owns whatever you put in it. And with respect to bank accounts, that means you've got to actually go down to the bank or the credit union and change the title to the bank account from your name to your name as trustee of your living trust. So the bank's going to ask you, well, okay, what's the name and date of your trust? You're going to give it to them, and they're going to change the title on your checking or savings or money market or CD. And the same thing holds true with investment accounts too. You got an account at Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade, Merrill Lynch, Robinhood, any sort of investment broker or manager. Those accounts also need to be put into your trust, or they could go through probate too.
And this can go to life insurance, Bitcoin accounts, all that, everything kind of applies?
Well, now life insurance could be a little different, as could be IRAs or annuities or 401ks or 403b or any account with a beneficiary on it.
Okay.
So beneficiary accounts typically are left outside of a trust because they already have beneficiaries on them.
Yep.
And assuming that the beneficiaries on those accounts are the same people that you really want to get the money, then you can just leave the life insurance with those designated beneficiaries, and you don't have to put that into your trust as you would a checking or savings account. But I think the basic rule applies, which is you don't have to put anything in your trust if you want it to stay outside and if it has a beneficiary named on it. So even if you have a savings account at a bank and you want that account to go to one daughter, you can leave it out of your trust, because maybe your trust goes in 3 equal shares to your 3 daughters, but you want this one account to go to one daughter. Then leave it outside the living trust and just put that daughter on as a beneficiary. So that account with the beneficiary on it that's different from your living trust distribution, you don't want to put that one in your living trust. But if everything's going the same place to the 3 daughters and 3 equal shares, and that's what the trust says, then you should put every account, checking, savings, money market, into the trust. Now, IRAs and retirement, tax-deferred retirement accounts are different, because those are income tax deferred, and those are better off being left to a living, breathing beneficiary who can defer the taxes over 10 years if they want to, whereas a trust doesn't do that generally. So if you leave your IRA to the trust, that could trigger the income taxes that are due. And it doesn't give the beneficiaries any rights to defer the taxes. So just to keep it simple, checking and savings and bank accounts, those should go in your living trust, unless you wanted to go to a special person, and in that event, you can name that person as a beneficiary. And even investment accounts also, again, they should go in the living trust unless you've already got a named beneficiary on it and you're happy with that beneficiary. And keep in mind, if that beneficiary dies, then where does it go? So sometimes on accounts, you need a primary and then a secondary beneficiary as a backup, just in case the first beneficiary's not living. So you definitely want to pay attention to how your accounts are titled, whether they need to be in the living trust or not. If they're in the living trust, you don't need any beneficiaries on there, because the trust has that has all your beneficiaries. So if it goes into the trust, you don't need a beneficiary. On the other hand, if you wanted to go to a certain person that's a little different than who's getting your money from the trust, then you need to have at least a primary, secondary, maybe even a tertiary beneficiary as a backup, just to be careful.
And Dan, sometimes I'll hear that people are actually forget who the beneficiaries are. So like maybe they haven't touched their, reviewed their life insurance policy, they haven't reviewed any of that stuff, and let's say you got like 6 accounts, and it's just like, I don't want to do all that, right? And I know it's not as good management in terms of what we're talking here, but is there any recommendation on just checking that every year, or
Yeah.
any recommendations, or do we put them, like you said, under the trust, that makes it easy to manage everything, so then I just change the trust? Just any thoughts around this, because I know this happens out there. It happened within my own family. It's like, oh, I probably didn't want that person to be on the account, but
Yeah, I
here
would
they
say
are.
most people don't know and don't remember completely accurately who their beneficiaries are. It's a huge problem. So, yes, it is easier if the trust is the beneficiary on everything, except again IRAs and tax deferred accounts where they cause problems. But generally speaking, on non-qualified money and investments and even life insurance, if the living trust is the beneficiary, then you've coordinated so all roads lead to the trust. And to change the beneficiaries on all your accounts, all you have to do is change one document, and that's your living trust. So that's a very good strategy. If you want to get all your beneficiaries coordinated and you can't always remember who's getting what on what account, then just make the trust the owner or beneficiary of all those accounts, and just coordinate everything through the master document, which would be your living trust. That's a very efficient way to do it.
Yeah, well, it's great, Dan. Thanks for sharing all that advice.
Hope that helps. See ya.